Dear SRCC community, today we have with us one of our very inspiring alumni, Sachin Chamaria. Sachin has scripted history as the first Indian BC3 Bocca player to qualify for World Championships. His achievements are not limited to sports field. He is an entrepreneur. So here, I will not come much between you and our revered alum Sachin Chamaria.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Sachin, for joining us.
It's my pleasure,
extend
ma'am.
A very warm welcome.
Thank you so much.
Sachin, I'll begin your story,
Okay,
which
ma'am.
is very powerful and I may say deeply personal as well.
Yes, it is.
So, how was life like when you were growing up, and how did it change in year 2008?
So, like growing up, I had normal aspirations like any adolescent or any teen at that time would have. But my life drastically changed in 2008 when I was holidaying in Calcutta. I met with an unfortunate road accident, which broke my spinal cord at C4, C5 level, and it made me paralyzed below my chest. At that time, I was in 12th standard, so I was to appear for my boards that year. But in the summer vacations, I met with this unfortunate incident. So yeah, that changed my life because 1 second ago I was completely able-bodied, and then the next second I couldn't move my legs, I couldn't move my arms. I was like a piece of vegetable. I could hear and I could see, but apart from that, I couldn't move. I cannot do anything. So that changed my life entirely. I had to adapt to the new life of, where I was independent on doing everything. I had to be dependent on even the basics of tasks like drinking water, taking my bath, getting ready, or even doing my motion or my anything. The basics of simplest tasks which people take for granted. It was taken from me because of that injury. I had to be dependent on my family or my caretakers and that thing. So my life altogether changed, but I was focused that whatever has happened, and I cannot let that overpower me. Otherwise, I will not be able to get out of it. So that played a very crucial role in that, and most importantly, I didn't let go of my studies at that time. As I told you, I was about to appear for the board exam. I told my father that no matter what has happened, but if I do not continue this year, then probably I will not be able to get back to studies later on, because once आप किसी चीज़ से थोड़ा पीछे हो जाते हैं तो उसमें मन लगाना वापस बहुत मुश्किल हो जाता है, because anyways you are going through an adverse situation, and उसमें अगर आप कहीं लैप्स ले तो उसमें फिर वापस जाना बहुत मुश्किल हो जाता है किसी भी ह्यूमन के लिए.
बिल्कुल ठीक है. Sachin, you are putting it, it seems that you didn't let the accident define you.
Yeah.
So what was it, which kept you going, which kept you motivated mentally, emotionally?
So, ma'am, I have always been a very practical kind of a guy, and not too much sentimental, emotional, and not, living in a world of fantasy, but always looking things at from a very practical nature. At that time, the biggest thing which people have most difficult task is of accepting the fate. When some adverse situations happens, it's very difficult for people to accept that this has happened to them or this is happening, right? And once that acceptance is not there, they are stuck in the past. They always look for blaming on other people, or blaming on their life, or blaming on rather God, why it has happened to them, why it has to be them. But I was not of that approach. I had a different approach. I said, okay, what has happened has happened. I cannot change it. I cannot go back in the past and I cannot change it. But what I can change is I can change my attitude towards my life. I can start thinking more positively, accept the situation I am in, and then work towards how I can improve my situation further.
Wonderful. We are extremely proud of you, Sachin.
Thank you,
So
ma'am.
you graduated from SRCC in 2012
Yes, ma'am.
and you got into entrepreneurship. So entrepreneurship, how much your success in entrepreneurship field do you contribute to SRCC? Of course, like we know that entrepreneurship is something risk-taking ability, something which comes within.
Yes.
But education might have left an impact, and then you had this business acumen in your DNA as well.
Yeah, so both played an important role. Like education is a must, ma'am, because even if you go to a practical field, you have to have certain basic theory knowledge, right? And that comes from your studies only. Yes, the theories in books are a little bit different as because in practical things you have to adhere to. It's very different from theory, but theory gives you a base. It gives you a knowledge on what things are, how things are, and what do things mean. Without the theory knowledge, you cannot be successful in practical. And yes, my father, my grandfather, they have always been entrepreneurs. So as you rightly said, it's in my DNA. And that also played a very important role because when my father or my grandfather, they used to come home from office or anything, even from a very young part of my life, from my childhood, when I was around 8, 9, or 10 years. So when we used to sit for dinner together, at that time I used to ask Papa, how was your day? What did you do? And then according to his understanding, what I would have been able to understand at that time, he used to tell me like, I did this today, did this today. So that also played a very important role in my life because that allowed me to pick up my career in where I want to go and which field I want to pursue. Right now people face this problem. They are uncertain even in class 10th. Their boards are appearing and they have no clue what they want to do in the future, whether they want to take up science, whether they want to take up commerce, or whether they want to take up humanities. So they are very confused. So in that way, I was very sorted because I knew I want to become a businessman like my father, like my grandfather. So in that way, I was very sorted. So those discussions, even though what I couldn't understand at that time because I was just a boy. But now when I realize it, I think it played a very important role in defining my career.
Yeah, so you must have imbibed a lot of things in a very subtle manner.
Yes.
A lot of strategy and business tricks.
Yeah, because even when you hear and see people, you learn a lot of things.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. So, if from being an entrepreneur, you are now on your own. From 2018, you have your own venture.
Yeah.
Can you please tell us a bit about your own venture?
Yeah, absolutely. So after graduating from Shri College in 2012, I took a break for 1 year because for 3 years I was not able to balance too much of my life between studies and my health. So I said to my father that okay, give me 1 year, let me focus on my health first, let me improve it furthermore, so that I'm able to go to office, sit over there, and I don't take breaks in between, because if I take too much of break in between, then I will not be able to do justice to my work. So I took a break for 1 year, and in 2014 I joined my father's office. I started sitting with him. I started learning from him the basic nitty-gritties, how a company is formed, because how you form a company defines your company. So that thing is very important. I learned from him what precautions you have to take. I learned HR from him, how he handles people, how he treats them, how he takes interview, how he hire people, and also the sad part, but it's a part of life, when someone is not performing, how you have to let go of some people from your organization. So I learned all these things, street trade, how to approach people, a lot of things with my dad. But unfortunately, we were into manufacturing industry. We used to make manufacture cement, and our plant was in northeast of India, in Meghalaya and Assam, known as Star Cement. It is the largest cement factory in the entire northeast. But going to Northeast was not practically possible for me because unfortunately it's not that our country is not that much accessible for a wheelchair user. And also, when you're in a manufacturing industry, like the silos, the preheating tar and everything, you cannot make those accessible because over there the safety has to be main concern for the people who are working there, for the workers, for the laborers, for your staff, and everyone. So after one point of time, when you're not actually in a practical field, but you are only in the office and looking from there, I told my father that this work is not for me because I want to do something on my own and I want to create my own name. That is when in 2018 I learned about how stock markets work, what are derivatives, what are futures, what is option trading, and that is something that piqued my interest because I was one thing that I was very good at was mathematics. I've been always a good student of mathematics, and maths always fascinated me. Like nowadays, a lot of people they hate maths, but I was amongst the few one who loved maths basically. So this subject caught my interest, and I told my father that this is something which I want to do, and this is something which I can do independently. That was the main reason also because I don't need anyone's help to take me here or there. I can look at the markets on my phone myself, and whatever trades I want to place, I can do it myself. I don't have to be dependent on anyone for this work. So that was also a very important factor while I was looking for what kind of work I want to do because I wanted to be independent in my work. So I started my company known as Growealth Capital LLP, and touch wood, since then I've been growing and I've been doing good.
Yeah. So that is so good to hear, Sachin. Sachin, all these medals in your room, the certificates on the wall, they are indicating that you have been very successful in the sports field. And in our initial conversation off the camera, you told us that you were interested as a youngster in sports. So what attracted you to Bocca? But before that, if you can tell a little about Bocca, because it's not a very popular sport.
Yeah. So
and then tell us
So Boccia, it's a para game, and it's one of the only two para games which doesn't have a counterpart in abled Olympics. In every para sport, there are different categories. The categories are made so that equal people play with equal. There's no disparity between powers. Like, just to give you an example, if you see boxing, the classes are divided according to weight.
Yeah.
Right, a lightweight, middleweight, cruiserweight, and heavyweight, and super heavyweight. Right, a 45 a person, an athlete between 45 to 50 kilos, he cannot compete with a person who is weighing 90 to 100 kilos. Right, because it will be unfair. He's one punch and he's down. Right, so same way in para sports, depending upon your limbic power, how much power you have on your limbs, you're divided into different categories. So in my sport, boccia, there are 4 categories: BC 1, 2, 3, and 4. I play in BC3 category. BC3 category is the category in which highest level of neurological impairment athletes play, or people who have the least body function. In this category, this is a category we do not have power in any of our limbs. We cannot throw the ball with our hand or kick the ball with our feet. So for that, we are given a ramp and a ramp operator, and we give directions to the ramp operator where to put the ramp, and whether we want to take left or right. He cannot look at the court. At any point of time, he cannot look at the court. He cannot look what is happening in the game. He is like a puppet. He cannot even say anything, and he cannot even give me any kind of इशारा. अगर रेफरी को लगे कि वो मेरे से किसी तरह से कम्युनिकेट करने की कोशिश कर रहा है, कुछ कर रहा है, it's a direct violation. Okay. So he is like a robot, puppet. If whatever I say, he has to do that. He cannot talk back. He cannot do anything. So that is what this game is. It's a very beautiful game, very interesting game. In Paralympics, it is being played since 1984. But in India, it was introduced in 2017. So it's relatively very, very new.
So what drew you to this game?
So as I told ma'am, the game is like chess on court. I have always been very fascinated by strategy. Even when I was a young kid, I used to play a lot of chess or a lot of video games like Age of Empires or anything, or where my mind was involved. Where you have to strategize each and every step. So this game is apart from aiming, strategy is very important in this game. So the strategy factor where I have to constantly apply my brain, that attracted me towards this game.
So you have won many laurels in this game, and now you're going to represent India. So, out of whatever achievements you have on the sports field, which has been the dearest to you till date?
So if you talk about national wise, ma'am, the first national medal is obviously very dear and precious to you because that is your first ever medal, right? And internationally, the first gold which I bought for the country, that will always I will regard that as my number one. No matter how many medals I get in the future, but that will I will always consider that as in my as my most prized position because that enabled me to become the first Indian to ever get a medal in this international medal in this sport for my country.
So when are you going to play next at the international level?
So this year I'm participating in 4 to 5 tournaments. My next tournament is in Canada. It's a World Challenger. It's in the month of April, so I'll be going to Canada in the month of April.
Wonderful. Then how do you balance your entrepreneurial journey in sports?
Ma'am, it's very simple. Like you, I also have 24 hours. You also have 24 hours, right? Uh, I like to do productive things and not kill my time on scrolling through reels or giving too much time on social media or anything. I believe life is very short, and there's so much to do in this world that I believe one lifetime is not enough for anyone to see or do everything in this life. So about managing, when I have a very major tournament or something like that, then I change my priority. I give less time to my office and more time to my sports and practice. Otherwise, when there's no competition coming for a long while or anything, I generally go to practice 3 times a week for 2 hours. That is sufficient enough to keep me in touch with the game, and the rest of the time I'm in the office. So that that is how you that depends upon you how you want to manage your time schedule. If you look at any successful people, anyone who has been successful, they always talk about time management.
Yes.
Time management is the essence. If someone whose time managing skills is good, he will always be successful in his life.
Wonderful. Sachin, you just said that this is a relatively new game in India, 2017. So, have you self-coached or you took the help of certain international coaches? Because since it's a new game, I'm
So
very sure there were not many national coaches.
yeah, so initially I learned whatever I could by watching the game on YouTube through videos and how people are playing this, how other athletes are playing this game, what are they doing, and what this thing is, what is happening. So when I went to my first international competition, it was in Dubai. It was also a World Challenger. That was my first international competition. I think it was in 2020, late 2020 or early 2021. Just when the COVID was starting to decline and things were opening up, this competition happened. So over there, when I went, I made quite good friends with a few of the athletes and with the delegation and the coaches that were there. So I met with Mr. David Henriques. He's from Portugal. He's the head coach basically of the entire Portugal national and international team. So I made very good connect with him. And when I came back from there, I called him and sir, will it be possible for you to train me and guide me and how to improve my game? And luckily, we bonded in such a way that he agreed to it. And before my next competition, He came with one of his players to India, and he trained me. And under his guidance, I learned a lot of things on how to play this game, what mistakes I was performing on. So it's very natural, like for anyone, like a teacher's role will always remain a teacher's role. You know, be it a coach, be whether you are in school or in college, you always require a mentor and a coach or a teacher to train you.
So you have achieved so much, Sachin, at this young age. So anything which you are looking forward to do for yourself, for the country, for the family?
So the next target is, my ultimate objective is to bring a Paralympic medal in this sport for the country.
Oh, wonderful.
In sport wise, that is my goal, and I will work and I'm working hard, and I'm giving my 100% to achieve that. Whether it will be possible or not, that I cannot tell you right now, but I will not leave any stone unturned to make it happen.
Wonderful. So Sachin's story is a story which everything which SRCC stands for resonates. Excellence, courage, and resilience. So my dear SRCC community, his life teaches us many things, and the most important, make adversity your opportunity. Thank you so much, Sachin.
Thank you so much,
Thanks,
ma'am.
Sachin.
Thank you.